I'm in a new location today, and I just have to do a little walk around to show you how, I mean, it's just stupidly charming, which is a bad way of putting it. The power of words, right? Like, I take issue with the way that people say if it kills me, or like I used to talk about how cute my dog is and say things like it's brutal to exist with such a sweet animal because he's so insufferably cute. That's not a good way to speak on things because words have resonance and power. I need to say it. Okay. I need to say that it fuels my spirit. There's a quietness in this town. This is Corciano. Corciano is the closest small town to my villa. Swallows are coming up, right? I've been talking in my other videos about animal totems that appear to us because the world is a finely woven quilt of meaning. Spiders, lizards, hummingbirds, swallows have joined the conversation. They're so cool, these birds. They're exquisite. They're like fighter ships from Star Wars or something. I have to find a shady place to be because I will burn to a crisp. I think I'll move location in between what I'm going to be doing here. The elegance of the swallow. I wonder how I can set up. It's like Duloc from Shrek. Or being on the set of a movie, really, but, you know, it's all real. And I was just walking and there was a woman leaning out of her window, trimming her hanging planter. It's just sweet. It's just a different pace of life, as I've talked about. So if anybody sees this video, take it as a sign to mean that you are meant to enjoy the sweetness and the slowness of life as it's available to you. In America, I was just walking with a friend who I've made here, and she was saying, we come here and we're like, oh, people must go to America and be like, ew. They do. We're the laughingstock of the world for a lot of reasons. So, you know, I kind of just found this plastic chair and I took it because I don't quite know what the rules are. I'm behind a church. That's why the bells went off. Let's see if this will work. Could it work? Thank you. Yes, it can. So I was walking up here. There's a pretty steep incline, as I mentioned the other day. Well, I mean, it's just a shame to have such a blank and basic background when I'm in such a cute territory. But I did a little walk around. You know, it's cute. As I went on this walk, I had a lot of downloads come through, and if anybody's curious, perhaps you have psychic aptitude and ability, as I believe all humans do. We're just made to think that we're, you know, that things are fictional. That's why 444 on the clock. A lot of movies are truth adjacent to make people think that certain things are make-believe, to disempower people from discovering their truth. Anyway, a person might ask, what do you mean downloads, like into your brain, spiritual downloads? Isn't that just you thinking? No, because it comes through clairaudiently, right? You get complete packaged thoughts and ideas. And yes, it's in my mind, but it's different than how I think. These are smelling herbs. A very amazing person, a very kindred soul, gave this to me. It's cedar and lavender blossoms, and it says, may your space and yourself be filled with the sweetness of your blessed life. I mean, that's even beautiful and synchronistic, because we're talking about the sweetness, the charm of this town, the sweetness of life. I recommend having, and I talked about the cedar tree yesterday and how that resonates with my soul, because I believe I have a don't join them. It's okay for me to sit here?
No, non speak English.
I don't speak Italian.
Di dove? America?
Just, yeah.
Stati Uniti? Ah,
Sì.
sì. Ah,
Just-
dipingi?
Sì.
Ah,
Just
ok.
talking, writing.
Dai,
It's okay.
benvenuto.
I can be here. Grazie mille. Ask for forgiveness, not permission. No, but there's a amazing vision oil. It dawned on me as well that I need to do a video where I go through all of my spiritual tools, meaning crystals, herbs, oils, the whole enchilada. The sweetness, do you see this climbing jasmine? Like, the air is so incredibly fragrant. So yeah, I got a lot of ideas on the way up here, to the point where I was like, this is too much to recall. I can't translate this into a video. And then I was like, that's precisely the flawed logic that prevented me from sharing anything for the past 10 years. It's all too much. It's just meant for me. You know, you can realize things, integrate them, and move on with your life. But the reason why I'm doing this is because I hit a point where it's like, that's not good enough. Like, I'm happy just, you know, living my life and learning things, being shown things, but there are collective messages here. And I said this a few months ago in a different video. My spirit team, you know, my angels, my guides, the saints that I work with, ancestors, they're just kind of all like waiting around, like, we're trying to work with you here. When are you gonna start doing your stuff? All right, so I'm gonna work without the cards for a little bit, because there's simply so much information. Other people on YouTube who do tarot card readings, or they are, you know, light workers, energy workers, psychic, medium, oracle, prophetesses, we'll call it no tools reading. I'd like to talk about my spiritual tools, but I don't need anything to tap in and relay messages. It's called a no tools reader. So the first idea was about the notion of spiritual awakening, and it ties into what I was saying yesterday when we were looking at the High Priestess card, talking about creating a renewed sense of faith in the intuition, trusting in the unknown. And I said this could be a renewed sense of intuition or connection to intuition, or it could be new, right? It could be the first time for certain people going through the shifts in the energy right now, because there's waves of people awakening to a heightened ability to process reality. everybody's capable of it. Not everybody will come to it. But if this is the first time that somebody is waking up, what that might look like is that it's not just falling out of alignment with a person or a place or a way of doing things, as I've been mentioning for the past few videos. It will be much more like everything, nothing. You know, you feel like you're going insane, basically, because everything falls out of alignment, or, you know, the majority of things. When you hit a tipping point where most of the things in your life are no longer resonating with you, whatever that may mean, whatever that may look like, it's really hard. It's really, really, really hard. I have goosebumps on both sides of my body, so that's like through and through. It's really hard stuff. And having gone through a pretty major spiritual awakening, it started in like 2011. I think I came into this life ready to have that awakening, and by that I mean I came through with a lot of residual energy and stuff from past lives, right? So I've always, since I was a child, it's not like I lived my life and then woke up one day. I've been keyed in, but that is when certain things shattered for me. And then, you know, I had another one in 2016, and another one in 2020, and I'm having another one now. Another what? Another collapsing. We can tie this in with the information that I was reading from this book the other day. Collapsing, rebirthing, right? The intelligent design learns from itself. So these processes of leveling up. What I wanted to say is that whether or not this is like, if this resonates with anybody who may listen, if this is your first one, it may be the hardest. If it's not, if it's your 8th one, you know, we're never gonna get there. The journey is the destination. This is how life goes, right? Moving through these transits and learning and doing better and leveling up and grounding in more energy and the capacity to hold more energy. Sometimes people comment on the fact that I can talk really fast, but very eloquently. It's funny because I feel like I struggle to communicate, but I'm an over communicator. I just want to make sure that I do the very best that I can to be understood and to be clear, because I've been so misunderstood in my life. So it's a reflex from not wanting that to happen anymore. There's a fascinating bug. I think I'm gonna go to it. I think I'm gonna make a move. Do you wanna see? Let's check it out. Where'd you go, bud? Oh, it lives in the jasmine. It's this mondo bee thing. It's too in there. I don't want to get too close. Who are you? Oh. Nope. Cool, right? Oh my God. I like it from afar. I like it better from afar. Don't. I don't know. A lot of people on YouTube and readers, there's nothing wrong with the way that I'm a live and let live type of person. But I would say that people will be like, every single thing that I say when I'm in channel, when I'm being moved to share information, is a synchronicity and for a reason. I kind of relate to that. I do think that there are certain things that I might say and share that are like deeply resonant with people, and I'll never know, you know, it's just part of what I'm being asked to like share. On the other hand, sometimes I just get distracted and want to look at a bug. Not everything's a sign, but it is. There's the bug. I'm gonna get a couple things going here. do with that? Oh. Okay, so oh no, this is broken. I'm thinking about my first spiritual awakening. It's a cheapening of what's happening, but it's really not. I mean, whatever, you call it whatever you want. I'm averse to using certain language because I don't want to turn away certain parties or certain camps of people. I try to use very inclusive language that is stripped down to a universal way of talking about things, but that's sort of inherently flawed, right? You're not going to appeal to everybody, nor do I have to. I went through a depression after that, and I was talking yesterday, and I was like, I mean, I wasn't depressed before I came here. I know I wasn't depressed. Yes, there's grades and levels to depression. Levels of intensity within depression. You can be low-grade depressed, or you can be deeply, deeply depressed. And there was a point in my life when I was deeply, deeply depressed, to the point where, oh, I'm sorry, I'm all over the place today. When I was walking, I was thinking about how I said, I know I'm not depressed. And then in my mind, I heard, how does a person know they're not depressed? When I was deeply depressed, I lost the ability to take care of myself and do basic functional things like shower and like change clothes or put on clothes, get out of bed. You know, I basically started living in it almost as if I was an elderly person waiting to pass away, and I wanted to. I mean, it was a horrible, dark, dark time. A lot of that comes from the nature of the spiritual awakening, the illumination, the new energy. The universe, it will, tower energy again, right? Move you through your life, and you can resist it or not. So a lot of things fell out of alignment with me, and I felt like, you know, a stranger in a world where I didn't belong, and it was a confusing and dark time. And it doesn't always look like that, though. You don't have to be bedridden waiting to pass away in the night, depressed. It can be a loss of interest, a loss of what I talked about with the Ace of Wands card about 4 days ago, I think, when I was saying, like, isn't it nice? One could argue the very best feeling in the world is like just a seed of inspiration, you know, genuinely wanting to do something, genuinely liking something or someone. It's actually quite rare, you know. We convince ourselves we like things. A lot of the time we convince ourselves that something is like good enough, or, you know, in the American culture especially, we have a lot of options. We have a lot of choices. This is through everything, you know. I talked about this profound moment I had one time when I opened my fridge, and I had in there almond milk, coconut milk, and oat milk, and I was a little stoned, I'm not gonna lie. And I looked at them and I was like, these are all the same thing. They probably come from the same company, the same, like, I know that's not true, but the notion was like, if I was an alien and I got dropped into the world, right, the humans, they'd all look pretty similar because we're not used to identifying these subtle differences. We are too used to delineating between these subtle differences in the options that we're provided with today, such that we don't realize that we don't need more. We don't need all the things, right? I didn't have to buy 3 different kinds of alternative milk. Because when you step back and you scale back and you look at them, it's like all this stuff is just the same. And what it is in many cases is, well, I see a lot of the things in American culture and what we're given and what is advertised and peddled to us as like distraction stuff, So my point in sharing that is that we have so many options available to us that we don't need to be creative and think about what we want, because it's just all kind of like there, and we're like, yes, people are coming. Hi. Ciao. I'm gonna smoke. I'm sorry if it offends you. I relate to smoking and oh my gosh, I hope this isn't like a deeply offensive thing to say. Again, forgive me. Like a Native American with a pipe, right? Also, just keep in mind that they didn't have a lot of, traces, if any, of cancer and stuff, and they smoked natural tobaccos, and they were one with the earth. People have been smoking for thousands and thousands of years without issue. I'm not an advocate for smoking. I think everybody should quit smoking, but it helps me think, right? It's the act. There's really horrendous imagery. If you've never been to Europe or seen the cigarettes, this one's tame in comparison to some of the pictures, and everyone here is so used to it. It's ironic because it's supposed to dissuade you. It's like the agreement with the government to allow, cigarettes to keep being sold. That there's this really graphic, consequential images about the, and the Italian warning says like smoking kills you or something, The intent is for it to dissuade people, but almost everybody smokes here, like people on the streets and stuff, So you could be in a light state of depression, or a medium or a dark, and it could be that you don't like anything in your life, and it could be because you fell out of the process of choosing and creating your own ideas and what you want to do, from within. And an application of this is like, right now, I'm having a really hard time grocery shopping. Like, hear me out. It's like, number one, those places are black vortexes of polluted energy. There's a lot of people who are in really rough states right now. Ciao. I am going to stop talking whenever somebody comes over. 23:23 on the clock when I look up, which is 5:05, just because I don't know if people speak English or not, and it's ironic because I'm putting this out here where anybody at all could see it, but for the sake of my process, I don't want anybody to listen to me. I'm also, it looks a little odd, right? I'm like sitting here with an incense burning, and like I've got like little jars and oils behind a church doing witchy stuff. No, that's a whole other thing. I'm not going to get into witchy stuff right now. Because I'm so empathic and energetically spongy, if people are in a really bad state, dealing with a lot of stuff, and they're all in the grocery store shopping, then I feel that. So they tend to feel overwhelmingly congested and challenging energetically. That's not to say those are all bad people, right? Because another thing about energy reading and energy readers is that you can register people at the root level, right? The truth of their soul, not how they are and as they present in the world. And so the other thing about this is that my body is no longer accepting the highly processed food that we have in America. And it's hard for me to shop because I'm like, I don't even know what I want. I know how I want to feel. Again, back to that 8 of Cups card. There's a butterfly, but I'm going to resist the urge to get up and show you. Come to me and show them yourself. I guess what I'm being moved to do is like take to the farmers markets and buy natural food and cook for myself. But I'm like, bleh, I don't have time for that. But I gotta make time because it's important. You know, I don't feel good. My physical human body is, right, there's more that meets the eye, the light spectrum that I talked about yesterday. There's the light body too. There's the astral body. There's the body that is the soul quality, the energy that makes me a living, breathing person is a body too, that energy body. So, oh my gosh, the swallows, man, they're so cool. I hope the camera picked up. If you heard a sound, that was the swallow coming in at a fast pace, but he ended up going into a tiny little hole in the cobblestones, like between these, where he's nesting. Somebody came over again, so I just we'll clip out that part because that was a bit of a longer pause. As there's a view, so that's why people will be coming by to look at the view and then go. So, also going back to creator mindset, I talked about these things that we fall into, being a victim, feeling like you can't fix your own problems, and shifting into a creator mindset. I have the power and the resources, and there is, you know, stuff in the world, real food out there. You have to work a little bit harder to get it. But I have options, right? I can create a different way where I don't need to, and that would mean that I don't have to go into the grocery stores. I mean, it poses a challenge because I shared in a different video that I have past life energy around fruit, and I've had a fruit aversion my whole life, and I'm like embarrassed about it because people are like, what? Like, do you need to, like, I don't know, see a psychologist or something? So perhaps I am talking about it as well because I'm reaching this juncture in my life where I have to do like exposure therapy and like try new foods. I love vegetables. I'm like a goat. Well, no, goats eat everything. Goats will eat like a washcloth. But, you know, just like a rabbit more so. I like snacking on vegetables. I'm saying all of this because if you're in a medium, light or dark state of depression, and that being defined by like, I don't have any will for anything. I just feel, you know, depression isn't about sadness, it's about emptiness. Then, and that has to do with also how much of your life is no longer resonating with you. It's going to become identifying that, accepting that. It's going to become the roadmap to what we need to change. And the more stuff that no longer resonates with you, the harder it is. But I'm here to try to inspire hope that it's possible to take baby steps to make the changes. You don't have to do everything all at once. So that was one of the messages that came through when I was walking. It was the just talking about depression and contextualizing that, and how that these changes can be very, very hard. It's not all like things are changing, energy is exciting. It's just real life, right? Life is very complicated and hard. The other message, I heard the moon will never try to be the sun. The moon would never be like, I'm gonna just do it all. I'm gonna do the night and I'm gonna do the day. I'm gonna light up the world. I don't need no sun, right? Like, I don't need a man, because the moon is feminine, the sun is masculine. Something about feminism, females in the world today. We are not men. We're not meant to be. I don't want to do, you know, the job of a man. And it gets tricky because I'm not like, I need to be a housewife and cook and do laundry, but I like keeping a home. There's nothing wrong with that. I can be a strong and empowered woman and do traditional female things. I don't know how to sew, but that's okay. I do actually. I took a textile class in school. I don't like it though, right? Whatever. We're allowed to pick and choose the things that resonate with us, and I also like the idea of a man being something that I'm not, or that I'm not meant to be. The sun is the sun, the moon is the moon. These things work in perfect harmony. These energies within us, within the world, masculine, or ideally they work in harmony. The sun goes down, the moon comes up, right? There's a dance there, and I have to show the cover of another book I have with me. It's called Creation Myths, ciao, by Marie-Louise von Franz. And as I put this back here, I saw 31 on the clock, which is 4-4. So another thing that might be happening right now for anybody that ends up ever throughout the space-time continuum finding this video is that you might be seeing numbers like that, like 2323, 3131, 4242. As a tip, you can always reduce numerology, how that works. You can always reduce it down to a single digit, right? So 4242 would be 66, 6 plus 6 is 12, 1 plus 2 is 3. And there you take some meaning from that, right? Or, you know, however you want to do it. You can Google angel numbers. All numbers have meaning and significance. And the nice thing about that is that the world is just absolutely riddled with numbers. You know, you really can't step outside. I looked up and there's a tiny little doorway and there's just a little terracotta plaque that says the number 5. It's a door, right? It's gonna have an address, but here there's a beautiful stripped down quality. Everything's just stone and natural. In America, there's, you know, like billboards and advertisements and this and that and numbers everywhere. License plates. I shared this before. When I'm driving, I've been doing this since I was in 3rd grade because I went through a phase of memorizing everybody's license plate. I grew up in a small town. And it was easy to do. So if I was at a stoplight, I'd be like, oh, that's Mrs. Lubick, my 3rd grade teacher, because I knew everybody's license plate. I've also joked about this before. I have like a weird, creepy spy alter ego, and that's also something that I cultivated at a young age, to the point where I had a notebook and I took notes on my peers and on the faculty of my school. This was in 1st grade, and I dropped it on the playground, gosh darn it, and it was found 3333 on the clock when I look up. My notebook was found, and I got in trouble because I wrote some things that wouldn't be considered like kind, right? I was observational, and I was confused because I was like, that's you read my diary, you know, Mrs. Manning. But I understand why she was trying to tell me that it's important not to say certain things about certain people. And I had done I'm sorry, I'm hungry, so if my tummy grumbling is audio like being picked up, then sorry, excuse me. I need to go find some food. One of the women who was a playground attendant at my school was sort of like, you know, a homely woman, and she had like these warts, and I drew a picture. It's pretty intense stuff for a 1st grader, right? I would take notes and draw pictures, and I've always had this kind of like invasively observational nature about me. And I never forgot that lesson, right? It's very important to you know, I've talked about this before in other videos, you can't just say whatever you want, right? You don't want to hurt people. And I didn't actually mean it in a hurtful way, but my teacher had said, well, what if she picked up your book and saw what you wrote and what you drew, and it wasn't like, she's the worst, she sucks. It wasn't like a caricature that made her this like monster. It wasn't like that. So anyway, I'm at a point where my brain will just add up the numbers on license plates and reduce them down to a single digit, and I'll be like, signs, synchronicities. Like I'm just kind of always twirling around in this world of magic because I choose to see the connectedness. I mean, I've never really had to choose. It makes itself available to me, but I like to partake intentionally. It is my choice to dance that dance with those things, and taking that a step further by, like, if I need help, if I'm confused. Of course, if you need help and you're confused, ask people in your life for support, connect with like-minded individuals. But I do that with the universe too, right? It's almost like praying for help, but in a specific sense of like something outlandish, like I don't know, something you don't see every day. What is it? Or just something so specific that if you were to see it, you couldn't call it a coincidence. Like, I'm not gonna say like, send me a sign, show me a blue car if it's meant to be, right? Because if you go outside, there's like cars everywhere, you'll probably see one. But I'll even be like, in the next 10 minutes, I don't know, present a green heart. And somebody might walk by and there's like, I just catch sight of a green heart like embroidered on part of the shirt, right? That stuff happens to me all the time because I work with that energy. So I believe in magic. I believe that I'm heard by forces around me. Back to the sun and the moon, the song Synchronicity that popped into my head was a song from when I was a kid. Well, it was a little pop Swedish girl band. They were covering other songs. So I know that this is an original song, and the band Play, Play, I loved them. Girl band, like 90, early 2000s. Cinderella. I don't wanna be like Cinderella, sitting in a dark old dusty cellar, waiting for somebody to come and set me free. I was talking about how it's like we've almost overcorrected, where women are like, I don't need a man, I don't need anybody, I'm independent, I'm empowered. It's okay to want, and it's not like, no one can save you, nor can you save anybody else, but it's okay to acknowledge that men are designed differently than women. And I know I'm using heteronormative and gender normative language, but please just excuse that, because I am talking about energies, right? However it manifests for you in your life and your connections and all of that, then take it and apply it as that, as it is. So that was the other thing. It was about balance and the sun and the moon. I did in fact have more downloads that I'm forgetting, and so that is okay. Not every single time will I be able to communicate everything, but you know why I forgot them is because I got up to the top of the hill, I went to the little cafe, got my cappuccino, and there was a woman who I've befriended here, already sitting here up in the little town. So I sat with her, we chatted for about an hour, or an hour and a half maybe. And a lot of the things, what's totally cool about being at an artist residency, or basically in a little paradise where everyone's just like, I'm creating, what are you doing today? And I was like, can you tell them I'm skipping lunch? Like, I'm not coming back down, I'm gonna hang out in Duloc. And she's like, yeah, I'll tell them you're in the groove. You're doing your thing. What's cool is that everybody's talking about their ideas. I got mad goosebumps. You could probably even see them. Everybody's infused with creative energy, and it's a blessing to be able to have that. And she's a writer. She's not an artist, and she's writing about the nuances in between, like, binary, right? It's not just black and white, the world. There's grayness to it. And I told her about Alex Gray, who's an artist who I met and worked with a few years ago, and he changed his last name to Gray after having a transcendental experience while he was on LSD, where he was in a depressive state, not really able to see the meaning of life or what his purpose was, and he was in the dark, the black. and he moved through to the light, and all the shades of gray in between, you know, that's the journey. Life is neither both tulips and tears at the same time. I put that in an Instagram caption about a month ago, right? Being able to hold the light and the dark, attachment, non-attachment. We got into some Buddhist talks because as a writer, she's written for a Buddhist publication before, but she isn't Buddhist, right? We like locating ourselves in spaces where things can be both and. And I think it's so cool. So she's talking about how things kind of come in couplets too, like leaving, the notion of, and I'm not, you know, I'm gonna share her name because it's her personal work and stuff, but she shares and publishes her writing, and endings, right? They're always paired with a beginning. Leaving is always paired with an arrival. Death is always paired with a rebirth. I've been talking about seasons and cycles and the earth, right? The earth knows this. To look for truths, pay attention to nature and the cycles of nature, because nature doesn't have to try, right? It just does. Animals are all wired with their own instincts, and we are too. And we gotta come home to that primal understanding of what it means to be a creature in alignment with all the other creatures, right? Because I've got these like monstrosity bees. I don't know what that thing is. I fear it just a little bit. But beautiful butterflies and these swallows and these geckos, like, you know, they're all part of the same scene. I'm a creature just right along with them. And I noticed on my walk how diversified the wildflowers are here. It's really beautiful. There's not just like a couple different ones. There's like, and all the colors. There's pink, there's purple, there's white, there's yellow. No one planted these. They're just, and what was sweet was that I was like, I am a wild flower because they just grow where they're planted. And the message within that is like, let the winds of change in the universe take you. You will end up somewhere else. That's okay. You can be bold enough to go into the unfamiliar and the unknown without fear. And I mean, always protect yourself spiritually, right? Say things like, say things to yourself like, I don't let people take my energy away from me. I am protected. Put up a shield of light and armor. But then trust, right? Once you've done that, you can go forth without fear. Because even if bad things happen, right, you have to keep the bone of faith in your body stronger than the concession to the forces that be. Because there are forces that be, and it's rough out there, man. It's rough. But, you know, wherever you're planted, you will grow. Grow through adversity. I'm gonna sneeze. Maybe not. Right. The man that came up, he kind of like took a look at all of my stuff and was like, are you a writer? And I was like, see. Yes, yeah, I'm a writer. I am a writer. But I also wanted to say about my writer friend, her work is there's like these themes, right? It's the same themes that my work is pulling me with too, with like, with death, there's rebirth, the butterflies, transformation. I will keep this video under an hour. You have my word. I have my word. Another thing that's interesting, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's not interesting at all, but I woke up in like a fugue state where I was like, where am I? What am I doing? Why do I feel like this? And it took me a good, I don't know, 45 minutes of just like lying there, like not asleep, but like not ready to meet the day. Not like in a low or, you know, any type of emotionally charged way, but just energetically not charged. Like I was like, I'm feeling kind of like I don't really get it. And I think that's why I talked about depression in the beginning, or there's a message for somebody right throughout the space-time continuum. Whenever you find it, you can have macro micro philosophy again, right? Around like you can have these little waves throughout the day. I was in the studio yesterday feeling really expanded, and then all of a sudden I was like, I'm exhausted. I don't want to be in the studio. I like being in a workflow, and I've perhaps become too social where if I'm working, people will come up and be like, what are you doing? Do you need anything? All well-meaning, beautiful, love them. But I'm like, I can't, now I want to be entirely alone because I live alone. I like to be alone. I need to be alone, in fact. And I said the other day, I think everybody needs to be alone, even if you're an extrovert and recharge around people and are social, because of the quality of thought that solitude provides and the energetic individuation. Because again, like if I'm around people all the time, then I don't have the flow. There's other people's energies, and they're great people, but it's still that like I need to. I mean, that's why I climbed a mountain and I'm sitting behind a church. I want to be alone. All right. Yeah, so the card pull is just to extrapolate on those ideas that I've talked about: balance, sun and moon, masculine, feminine energy, empowering yourself to find even the slightest glimmer of a creative spark. The sun and the moon card. Cards. I love it here. I'm gonna find a way to paint in Italy on a regular basis, and that could be every summer. Oh, that was another one of my downloads. I was thinking about the fact that I'm the youngest person on this trip, right? Everyone's got a lot of sage wisdom and advice for me because I'm young and I'm at the start, maybe, of my career. And I'm not trying to be like a smart ass. I don't think I'm smarter or better than anybody else. But a lot of the advice is like not really for me. It doesn't really resonate with me because I don't want to do things in a traditional way. And as I was walking up the mountain, I was thinking about the fact that I would, in a dream world, which I'm allowed to create. Oh, there's the other download too. Okay, hang on, cards. We've got more. Okay, all right. I'm gonna start in a different place and get right back around to the same idea, but it will take a couple minutes. All right, so with the themes of the videos that I've been talking about for the past few days, I've been talking about, right, 2 of Wands energy, 3 of Wands energy, strategizing, making peace with the endings, making peace with kind of like where we're at, being able to move forward now. And it's all about like, creation, energy, getting inspired. But the download that I got was, it was as if somebody was asking me, where like, how do I know where to go? Like, what am I moving into? What do I create? Or like I've talked about, soul's calling, alignment with your soul, your true self. The answer to that, there's not like a right or a wrong. It's about what you want to manifest. And if you don't know, then you try things out. Buongiorno.
Lascio a lei per la parrocchia o la metto qui?
I don't live here.
Ah, ok. Buona giornata.
It's the mailman. It's the mailman putting mail into the mailbox, and he like offered me the letter. I'm like, that ain't mine. But now I'm getting messages about that and the notion of like, okay. So you don't have to come up with a 5-year plan. this is going to tie into the other thing that I'm saying, right? The ways that people think we have to create and move through our lives, right? And our careers, the stages of things. You don't have to, at this time especially, but at any point in time, totally have it figured out. I think a lot of people like to act like they have it all figured out, or they overcorrect and go to the other extreme of like, I don't know anything, like, rah, rah. I'm just winging it. You can be both at the same time. You can have some stuff figured out and wing some other stuff, right? Some answers come into sight when you're driving. You can't see the whole road. Certain things come into view as you continue moving through space and time. And so I'm soaking up, and that's not, I wasn't saying before that I don't like any of the advice I'm being given. I'm just saying, especially because people don't, well, more and more as time goes on, people do know who I am and what I'm all about. But in the beginning, I think I was looked at like a young art student who's finding herself. And that's not, I don't necessarily resonate with that, that description of a person. That's not who I am. But as I was walking, I was thinking, I want to spend every summer painting in Italy for at least 2 weeks. I want that. What do you want to manifest? I want that. How can I do that? I don't know. And I heard, the dissenting, naysaying voice in my mind being like, that's not realistic. You haven't worked hard enough, in your life to be able to earn that. That's like people in their, the last part of their life, having all the money, having the retirement, everything figured out. Those are the people who get to come to Italy every summer if they want to, or go wherever, right? Freedom, travel. That's the notion of our culture, and you work hard to gain freedom. And part of my rebellious spirit is like, and this does come from like past lives, or like a different thing within me, because this has been the case with me for my whole life. As a kid, I was like, I don't want to do things that way, right? And I want to give myself permission to be able to pursue that, even though a lot of people would be like, that's unrealistic. That's a result of being a spoiled child, right? Thinking you can like have it all. And it's important to note that there is a balance, right? There's a big balance. I can't just be like, I'm gonna break all convention. I am of the world and in the world. What if I got pooped on by a pigeon during this video? It's actually just so funny to see the swallows, because they're so agile and incredible, and then the pigeons look like these dump trucks that are like trying to, in comparison. And there's a message in that too, right? People move through the world in different ways, and that's okay. Oh no. So I'm sponging up all the advice I'm being given, because it's not all about like, oh, well, I don't want to do things that way. I'm not going to do, it's like, I want to know how people have lived their lives, what's worked for them, what hasn't, so that I can take that and create a synergy of the advice. You take what resonates and you leave what doesn't, and you just accept people for how they like to talk about themselves and their journeys. And well, that wasn't the whole message, but I want the cards now, so I'm gonna move off of that topic. You have got to be kidding me. Are we surprised? No, we are not surprised. I mean, to be honest, I continue to feel, I mean, there's like a sadness here. There's a little bit of a discouraging energy. So what I'm getting off of this is that perhaps people are really struggling to close out the chapters that we're closing out, because this card's come out every single day. With the Knight of Cups and the Magician, the Knight of Cups has not come out in any of the readings I've done this week. The Magician has, right? We've talked about the different elements, being able to, this ties in with everything that I'm saying about manifestation, or intentional co-creation with the universe, taking that outside of like the hippie buzzword nature of it and being like, it comes down to assessing the facets of your life and seeing if you can do things differently, right? And trying to create that little seed of passion, or, you know, you can't just be like, I don't like it. You have to use the things that are wrong. Go over there, stand with the thing that's wrong, and look across from it, right? I'm seeing the zodiac wheel, Cancer and Capricorn, right? There are things that are opposites in life. Go over to the problem and look opposite at like what would the solution be? What would the antithesis be? What would the antidote be? And it's not just going to be sitting there staring you right back. You have to, third eye energy, third eye chakra, you have to use your creative visualization, the way that you can think things up, to put something in that position. You have to make your own solutions. It takes effort. This is giving me avoidance too. It's giving avoidance. Okay, but there's a softening too, right? With the Knight of Cups here, a softening to avoidance, which is really important. That's important. Advancement, fulfillment, inspiration, and healing. Yeah, this is what's gonna get you through. This is what's gonna get us through. And you know what? It's like this card came out first, this card came out second, this card came out third. So we're not totally done with letting go. We never will be, blah, blah, blah. But things are moving along again with trusting. I'm gonna cut the deck. Yes, baby. I haven't seen her all week. The Empress energy. It's beautiful, divine feminine energy. And right, the cups is of emotionality. Cups, water, emotion. So I'm seeing us closing out the chapters, like with a tenderness and an understanding that there is a need to be in touch with your feminine side, no matter who you are. And all that comes down to is like, you have emotions, you have an intuition, and that's a beautiful thing. Bottom of the deck is Three of Pentacles, which is about, you know, collaboration, thinking, creative ideas, material advancement. Again, advancement with the Knight of Cups. So we're taking the emotions that we're feeling and we're using them to inform us about the practical, real world choices that we're going to make. And it's going to lead us to ultimate stability in a way that we have not really had before in life. No matter how old you are, or who you are, or how far along on your journey you are, there's always space for more. And this goes back to what I was saying with, expanding universe, expanding energy. People are allowed to come to this world and do things differently than anybody's ever done things before. And I was talking about, like, you know, people giving advice. One of the reasons why I don't want to do things in the trodden path the way that they've done them before is because if you look around in the world, there's a lot of things that are broken and fucked up. And it's like, I don't want to be a part of that. I want to go do something else. We saw this yesterday. Four of Wands, right? Ultimate stability. Ultimate stability with a kingdom and everything you need. including the dog. I woke up this morning too and I just like really missed my dog. There's villa kitties all over the place. I'm getting kind of sick of them. Somebody, well, that's an awful thing to say, but let me clarify. They're not necessarily totally cared for. Oh my gosh. There's a big lizard, bigger than the ones that I've been. Some of the people in my program have taken to feeding and caring for the kitty cats, so they've become a lot more aggressive because of 10101 on the clock, which speaks to binary code, right, and polarities and stuff. But the world's more complicated than that. It's more nuanced than that. I'm talking about the dog because of the... Okay, I'm also getting one last message. I know I said I'd keep it under an hour, but I get self-conscious about people thinking that I'm mentally ill when I act like my true self because I'm so all over the place and it's hard to keep up. And if I feel self-conscious about expressing myself, then I can't make my artwork, you know, and I'm trying to be somebody I'm not. I'm trying to be like normal. And I've tried to do that for a long time, but simultaneously I've always been myself, right? Because the drive to do certain things is like beyond me. Like I've been appointed a vessel for certain things in this lifetime, and I could tie that back to like everybody is, right? We have different skills and abilities and gifts and talents, and mine are in the vicinity of artwork and idea. And in this new chapter, in this new world, if you want to call it that, right? Because it's going to be a new world for us individually as we choose to go forward and do things differently. But if a bunch of people are going through that at the same time, then in 10 years, maybe the world will be a different world. And the message is not to be self-conscious about being yourself, standing in your power, again with Empress energy. Like, she's just not afraid. She's just truly abundant and self-possessed. Something else I talked about with my writer friend was like, it's like we were talking about untraditional family structures and how as time goes on, both of us are thinking we may never ever want to marry, which is interesting. I never thought I would never want to marry. I could feel differently tomorrow, you know? That's the beauty of life. We can feel certain things in certain ways, but we were talking about having a certain type of family structure or, you know, choosing to rear children in a non-traditional way, whatever it may be, and there's always going to be people that don't think it's okay. It's not the way to do things. And so we can give ourselves permission to be happy and do things a certain way. But then, you know, you live your life and you're empowered, and then you hit a point of resistance where someone judges you and you kind of doubt yourself. And then maybe you don't do it that way anymore. Don't do that. It's not time to let the outside world poo-poo on your truth and your ideas. And we also talked a lot about religion and cults. I love talking about that stuff. Maybe I'll do a separate video on that at a later date, but there's a lot of irony in different camps of people with different belief systems, because what seems to be hard to come by is the live and let live. I think if somebody's trying to push their beliefs on you, then they're not in alignment, period. Because I mean, it's like with me talking about taking advice. Like, they're not trying to push their way on me, they're just sharing. And I will admit, I used to, when I was younger and I was going through different stages of my awakening and I was seeing things, I was like, I've got it figured out. I'm going to tell everybody, my life's going to change. People are going to realize that I know the truth of reality. That's genuinely what I thought was happening to me. So my life was very hard because, you know, I talked about being misunderstood. Like, there was ego involved, and wanting to prove something. And I don't have anything to prove. I just want to share at this point, right? So that phase of my life led to a very quiet decade. No, 6 years of not sharing basically anything at all. That's not entirely true, but I mean, this is a very different way of sharing than how I post on Instagram or how I relate to people and choose to filter through my beliefs. Basically vulnerability, how vulnerable I allow myself to get with my true and honest self. And that's been, when I talk about these second, third, fourth, fifth waves of spiritual awakening, that's been the refinement. Like, how comfortable can I be in myself? How much can I share safely, right? And when you share something and like, it's not, I take all my little interactions as mirrors and let them help me refine my process. That was a super, super cool little session. Hour, 6 minute, 37-second situation we had going on there. So if you watched this, thank you. Like, thank you for just like sitting with me and sharing in the processing of this beautiful existence. That was the High Priestess. If you're choosing to partake in this as a podcast and you're not watching, I cut the deck and the High Priestess was right there. And I don't have to explain why that's funny. Just go back and watch my other videos. But yeah, no, I really do appreciate anybody ever who wants to listen to me. It's deeply important for people to feel heard. And one of the most lovely things that you can do for another person is just to listen to them. So if you've listened to me today, then I thank you. Have a fabulous life. No, I'll be back in like probably 2 hours, But bye for now. Another thing I'm thinking about that I forgot to say is that this has to do with like the creation mindset, being able to solve our own problems, kind of step up to the plate of batting our own life moments with intention. I want to go back to the whole farmer's market shopping for food thing, right? Like, and this goes back to an analogy I used in an old video about like a lady who was passionate about rug hooking, and she never thought that there was a place for her in the world to do that, and the world just opened up around her when she chose to do it, right? The right people and things will appear. So maybe I haven't, shopped at the farmers markets like I'd want to before, and so it feels inaccessible, but I would use this to make a statement of like, you would be shocked at how the world will move and open up for you when you make small changes, or when you show through your action. It's not about telling anybody anything. It's about doing things that show your intention and what you want. Because I also talk about like, being held, being seen, being heard by the universe. Your actions are how you communicate too. Your intention, you can speak out into the stars if you want. I do it all the time. but how you move, the quality of your mind, your heart, your energy, how you apply yourself in the world communicates to the universe. And the universe wants to bring you what you want. What you want is wanting you. How lovely is that? That ties into like, how do I align with my soul? My soul's calling and stuff. It's like, just gravitate, focus in the moment, keep your energy in the moment. What do I want right now? What can I do today? What can I do tomorrow? Not in like a procrastinational fashion, but I also talked about creating plans, and they don't have to be these traditional, like, follow the book, this is how you do things, but like to temper, and this is a huge learning experience for me throughout my life because I'm so like free-spirited, it would be you do need some discipline and the ability to do things with a plan and with intention. That's, again, the balancing of masculine and feminine energy, right? Execution, taking initiative. But you don't have to do it in a way that disempowers you because the scale of it feels overwhelming. You can do small things, and then you can take stock of what those small things yield. And this plays into the things that I've talked about in the past with like, it does take time for energy to move through matter in this dense reality. We're not in a simulation where things can manifest instantly and collapse. Like I've talked about having an experience of being shown that in a different realm, having this out of body, it was a dream, we'll call it that, so that people can like palate what I'm talking about. I know that maybe people who watch this believe in and have the same experiences and know what I'm talking about. That's probably why somebody would end up finding this video, because it's resonant information to you, but we'll call it a dream, for all intents and purposes. Just being able to do things and not expect immediate gratification or change. That's the reason why, and this is increasingly so with the age of technology and how it's doing things to our brains. The youths can't focus, everyone's got ADD. Sometimes people don't have the discipline to commit to a changed habit over time, and so they give up before they ever have time to see the tree bear its fruit. So you have to key into the subtleties of experience, right? And this also speaks to the idea that there are certain things that gestate under the ground for a long time before they bloom. And typically when they bloom, fairly quickly. But it's that preparatory process of budding through the soil, again, tying into the earth analogy of like, this is that fresh time for things to come through and bloom. It's also a time to plant and water the seeds, right? So just, I wanted to tack that on. I got lost leaving that little village. I'm not lost now, but I really have to pee, and I'm not going to pee on the side of this road, because there are cars that come by, and I'm not getting the sense that would be a good thing to do. But based on my need to pee, I did not have time to get lost. So now I'm like hustling back, but the grade of the hill, it doesn't look super steep, but there are parts of it that are incredibly steep. Yeah, you see, if I was peeing on the side of the road right now, what would have happened? I can't move too quickly because of my knee condition. Maybe I'll just speak about this a little bit too, because so I grew up downhill alpine ski racing. Once upon a time, I was a pretty good skier, and I haven't skied in years because I have a hereditary condition. It's called chondromalacia. It's like a degenerative meniscus thing where you get bone-on-bone contact, and it's just very uncomfortable. I can do these motions that are common everyday movements, like if I'm trying to prepare something. I think about being in the kitchen, right? Because you've got the little working triangle of the stove and the fridge and everything, and you kind of pivot around. And when I do those pivots, I can leave my knee behind, and it gets twisted into a really uncomfortable bone-on-bone moment, and I can't fix it. I kind of have to wait it out, and so it makes me like kind of gimpy and limpy. But anything downhill is hard on the knees. Why I'm sharing this is because everybody has, our karmic slate, our lot in life, the cards we were dealt. There are certain things that aren't going to be perfect in your life. That's reality, and you have to be able to work with it and give yourself what you need and meet yourself where you're at. And I've struggled with this because I don't want to have to do physical therapy exercises every day. That's super tedious. But there's a butterfly I was going to show. If I want to be mobile and live a healthy life well into old age, then that is what surgeons and people have told me to do. There's no other option for me. They don't want to operate. There's no quick fix. And as a millennial, a younger millennial, I'm at the end of the millennial generation, we are a little spoiled for immediate gratification because of the technology, but also the way that the world works. And older generations are like, they don't know how to work for things, they're ungrateful. I've had to kind of bring myself back down to reality with like, I did try to look for a quick fix on this. I don't have one. And so if I want to invest in my future by taking care of my body, then that's the way that I need to do it. So this could be about, again, with like harsh truths and accepting things right now. Again, with the divine feminine and divine masculine balanced energies of the universe. sinking into the deep feminine intuitive state of, it's not like it takes my deep meditative intuition to be able to tell that my knees hurt and I need help, right? But I'm applying this to the other unseen things. So discovering what needs changing, and then the masculine aspect would be, and then doing it, you know, and then executing. And also kind of like this disciplinary sternness is what I'm getting. I'm seeing the Hierophant again, that tarot card, because it's like, if he was, this is weird, but I'm seeing like I'm seeing like if he was babysitting me and he told me, like, if a page of wands was babysitting me, I would be like, no, I'm not going to go to bed. This is such a strange analogy that's coming up. But if the Hierophant was, I would be like, okay, I'll go to bed. So you have to take a tone with yourself that is honest and disciplinary around the things that need changing. Okay, it's funny that I'm doing things this way, but I have another thing to add on. So the video is certainly not going to be less than an hour, but I mean, it already exceeds an hour. I wanted to add on the idea for what I was talking about with, like, things take time to manifest through the physical reality. We're accustomed, or almost, you know, we want instant gratification, so then we can give up on things if we don't get it. I also just want to say that things can happen quicker than you think. Miracles can occur if you release your doubt that they can't. But when you change little things in your life, or when you want to manifest something, you don't just sit around being like, okay, so now what's going to happen? Like, where is it? Where's the change? You continue to go forward with the faith that the changes matter and that they'll yield something if it's what you're, you know, guided to do. And then what does come to you, it will come in divine timing on its own timetable when it's meant to, and it will be often something, you know, else than what you thought, but it's the answer still to your prayers or the result of your changed behavior. So to that effect, I use a lot of affirmations that are like, I love being pleasantly surprised each and every day. I welcome, you know, something miraculous is going to happen today that I could have never expected. And then stuff like that is constantly happening. So I hope that helps to clarify.